Hello, everyone. Welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap Ltd materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. And I need to pause for just a moment to announce the Bookmap Academy March Madness crypto competition with over $2,000 in prizes up for grabs. To participate, users must register for both the competition and the academy and can also win prizes of $200 by sharing top-tier content. So there you go, the Bookmap Crypto March Madness competition. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My email Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, that's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. First of all, I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly for the equity futures that I follow and trade, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, and the large cap tech stocks that I also follow and trade. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and ES is a derivative of SPX. So when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they will hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the Nasdaq 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the ETF version of that index, and NQ is a derivative of NDX. So when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow on Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow on Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. And for example, setups in the Nasdaq can be taken with NQ futures, QQQ shares, or QQQ options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. And thank you for posting the links to the crypto competition as well as the Bookmap Academy. All right, here's my agenda for today. News items, economic data, and events for today. And then I'll go through my positional analysis. I'll go over economic data and events for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis for today. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. and then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know, and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's start with news items, economic data for today. Not much of a market mover, but durable goods orders did come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That number came in greater than expected, also greater than the previous number. And then at 10 a.m., consumer confidence came out, and that was less than expected and less than the previous number. All right, then for the rest of the week, on Thursday, GDP comes out, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. And then on Friday, PCE data is released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's normally a market mover. And then Jerome Powell will be speaking at 11:30 a.m. And note that is a market holiday, stock market holiday. Friday, the Good Friday holiday. I'm sure the futures markets will be open until probably 1 p.m. Eastern Time, but the stock market is closed. All right, so that is the economic data and events for the week. Let's move on to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. Note that I did upgrade to, I'm on version 7.5. I upgraded to the beta build 12. And there's an issue with volume dots, at least for me. Excuse me. So I'm having an issue with the volume dots, the clustering. If anyone else is having this problem, please let me know. I sent a support request to Bookmap support. They say they are not able to recreate it. So if anyone else is experiencing this problem, please let me know. I did change the volume dot settings, but it seems to, every time I change from one symbol to the next, it seems to revert back to the previous settings. So when I right click on a volume dot, like I'm going to go to the volume dot settings, then it goes to the correct settings. So again, if anyone is having this problem, please let me know. All right, so this is the S&P 500 futures, trading in an extremely narrow range today, painful to watch. All right, hello, trading for a living. Welcome, glad you're here. All right, so before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to take a look at a larger time frame, and I'm going to go to the SPX, the underlying index. So this is the SPX in a one-day chart. Green line is showing the current trend that began October 30th last year from the low to the high. That's about 1,150 points from the low to the high. All right, so that's a one-day chart for SPX. All right, let's take a look at a shorter time frame, sticking with SPX. This is a 30-day, 1-hour chart. I'm sorry it's scrunched down. My point here is really to show the levels. So the put wall did move down. I'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, so here's the top of that trend line, that green trend line, high around 52.61, again for good for around 1,150 points. Note during this year, the SPX call wall has moved up from 4,800 around the beginning of the year all the way up to the current level at 5,400. And again, more about that in just a minute. All right, let's take a look at the levels now. Hello, Anurag. Welcome. Glad you're here. And hello, Katinga. I'll get to your question in just a minute. All right, so let me talk about the levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. That's based on the options market. That's also based on the closing price for SPX on Friday. And those levels stay in place for the entire week. And then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, the closing price yesterday. I do post both of those numbers in Discord. the evening before. So SPX is trading inside both of those ranges today. All right, the other levels on this chart are Spotgamma levels. These are levels provided to Spotgamma subscribers. They're available on a variety of trading platforms, and they're based on gamma-weighted open interest. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. So first of all, here's the put wall at 4,600. That's the strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And this level is really not a significant level. It just fits the mathematical definition of the put wall. So not really significant support. It's way down and has a minor amount of gamma. All right, so the next level up is 5,000. That's the absolute gamma strike. That's the strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. So that is where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. And the next level up is the volatility trigger. That's at 5,095. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And note that SPX is trading above its volatility trigger today. And the next level up is the call wall that I mentioned before. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. So that's the potential ceiling for price, and that is a new all-time high for the call wall, and the put wall is the potential floor for price. And this call wall also fits the definition for the call wall, the strike with the largest net positive gamma, even though most of the gamma is really concentrated between around 5,200 and 5,300. And then again, the big gamma strike at 5,000. All right, shifts in levels. So the volatility trigger and put wall both shifted lower, and the call wall shifted higher again to a new record high at 5,400. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX, this time with a 1-minute chart. Let me zoom in a bit on this chart. All right, it's really the only gamma level in play for today is this 52.29 level. And that is a large gamma 3 level. So it has acted as support and resistance, mostly price trading up and down around that level in an extremely narrow range today. All right, so this is the ES futures and Bookmap. I have my own cloud notes here. All right, so that 52.29 is actually a C3 level, combo 3 level, combining SPX and SPY gamma weighted open interest into one combined level, shown there in terms of an SPX price, and then converted to an equivalent ES price. More about that in just a minute. All right, so I have my own cloud notes, so I can show those SPX levels as well as SPY levels. So there's the SPY, that's a 521 large gamma 2 level. There's that combo 3 level. And just above that is the SPX 5234 level. And then down below the next level is the SPX 5224 level. All right, so note there is a difference, a pretty big difference in price between ES and SPX, and today it is right around 58 points. So I'm showing SPX 5224 at ES 5282. And note that I do post the index relationships that I use every day in Discord. I post the preliminary and the final numbers. All right, so this 5234 level more or less acted as resistance earlier today. Then 5229 support. Now the S&P 500 is breaking below that level again, potentially heading for the 5224 level. All right, so SPX, ES, now potentially breaking out of that very narrow trading range. All right, shifts and levels again. For SPX, volatility trigger and put wall shifted lower, call wall shifted higher, and for SPY, the volatility trigger also shifted lower, but the put wall shifted higher. All right, so kind of a mixed picture for shifts and levels for the S&P 500. All right, let's move on to Nasdaq. All right, again, remember volume dot issue. And if anyone watching this has experienced the same problem, please let me know. All right, Nasdaq. This is the NQ Futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to take a look at the underlying index charts. First, I'm going to go to QQQ. Zoom in just a bit. Here, this combo level, right below 447, acted as resistance earlier today. And QQQ has been making a series of lower highs today. All right, that 446.98 level, that's a combo 3 level. So combining NDX and QQQ, gamma weighted open interest into one combined level. All right, let's take a quick look at NDX. Zoom in. So the only level in play for today is this 332 level. Acting as support and resistance. Support, resistance, support, resistance. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. NQ. Again, making a series of lower highs today. Here's that combo 3 level. I just put that at 447. Close enough, 446.98. Right, so Nasdaq making a series of lower highs today. That level acting as resistance. Next level down, this combo 2 level for NDX, and then the QQQ 445. Absolute gamma strike, and that's also the volatility trigger. And there's some resting liquidity shown with the heat map and Bookmap between those two levels. All right, shifts and levels. And we'll get to setups in a few minutes. We'll talk about some setups today. All right, shifts and levels. For NDX, they were done. And then for QQQ, the only shift was a shift lower in the volatility trigger, just like SPX and SPY. So the volatility trigger for QQQ shifted down just 1 point to 445. All right, so that is based on this. My thesis for the day was really neutral as far as direction goes. And let's just take a look. Actually. All right, so my thesis for the day was really neutral, directional bias, and then also looking for a narrow trading range. And that is really based more on my expected move for the day for SPX was, and also for ES, just right around plus or minus 21 points. Take a quick look at Gamma Notional. Mixed picture. I'm going to take a look at Gamma Notional, market maker's position on the Gamma curve at the beginning of the day for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. For SPX, Gamma Notional positive. In a positive Gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price. Spotgamma assumes that traders are short calls, market makers long calls, hence the positive Gamma, they have to trade against price. SPX just about an equal amount negative. So in a negative Gamma environment, Spotgamma assumes that traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, hence the negative Gamma, they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. So these two really offset each other, and then pretty neutral for the Nasdaq. So my thesis for the day was really looking for a very narrow trading range. All right, let's move on to execution now. So everything that we've looked at so far is based on static data. Spotgamma takes open interest data that's updated once a day. They apply their algorithms to that data to come up with the levels that I show on my charts. Now let's move on to execution. So that's the information that I use in my planning positional analysis. All right, so let's move on to execution. Let me check for questions. Katinka asks, hello, welcome, glad you're here. Does the Spotgamma trial period include the weekend? I think it's for 7 days. So 7 days from whenever you start. All right, Dare to Dream, hello, welcome, glad you're here. If I'm a novice in options trading, where would you say I start with the material? Great content, thank you. You're welcome. All right, getting started with Bookmap. Bookmap has a great learning center, so I would go there if you need to learn more about Bookmap. And then also Spotgamma. There's no easy way to really get started with Spotgamma. You can go to the free resources at spotgamma.com, browse through that. There's a lot of information there. Also go to the Spotgamma YouTube channel, and then when you have absorbed enough of the material of Bookmap and Spotgamma, well, I would say anyway, watch my webinars every day. It'll start to sink in. I talk about quite a bit of the same information every day. So just start with my webinars every day. Recordings are available on the Bookmap YouTube channel immediately after my webinar. All right, so I'm going to move on to execution now. I'm going to start, as always, by looking at what options traders are doing today. So this is the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options. Again, we're moving to execution, real-time data, focusing on what options traders are doing. So this is the hero signal, HIRO, hedging impact real-time options. This is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. The white line is the hero signal. The white line is price for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal. All right, let's zoom in on this chart. All right, what I want to focus on, all right, so just to make sure everyone is clear, a rising hero signal indicates traders are taking positive delta positions. They're buying calls and or selling puts. Market makers are taking the opposite side of those trades, and they have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. And then a falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta positions. They're buying puts and or selling calls. Market makers take the opposite side of those trades, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so what I want to focus on is this. Let me zoom in on the morning. So a little bit of a grind up this morning. Traders were taking positive delta positions. What I want to focus on is this reversal here. Right around 1020, traders started taking negative delta positions. And price moves lower. All right, I'm going to change to puts and calls so we can get a little bit more nuance, a little bit more clarity. I'm going to have to jump to avoid the auto zoom, and then I'm going to jump back. Let me. All right, so here's 10. Actually, zoom in more. All right, so the call line is shown with orange. So a rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. And then the blue line is for puts. All right, so notice from the open, traders were buying calls. And then right, maybe 10:18, 10:19, they take their foot off the gas very abruptly. They stop buying calls. Notice the blue line is pretty flat. And then just about 5 minutes later, they start buying puts. So this setup was call buyers take their foot off the gas, they stop buying calls, and they start buying puts. So the direction of these lines are in terms of options delta. Again, rising orange line, positive delta, and a falling blue line, that's negative delta. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. All right, go back to ES. Adjust the volume dots again. All right, let me zoom in. All right, let's go over this short setup. Right around 1020. All right, so there was a stop run. Actually, let me adjust my chart. Stop run up toward this liquidity at 52.95. Those are limit sell orders. So a stop run up toward that level, that's shown by the on-chart indicator, also the sub-chart indicator, rising yellow line. Notice during this time as the S&P 500 is making higher lows, remember traders were taking positive delta positions. Cumulative volume delta, shown with the dark blue line, is falling. So this is setting up a very nice CVD divergence, if that's something that you like to watch and trade. All right, the volume dots in Bookmap are showing market buy minus sell. Green dots indicate more buyers than sellers. And magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Stop run up toward that liquidity at 52.95. Buyers are exhausted. Aggressive sellers start to come in. Cumulative volume delta continues to move lower. And remember, traders started taking negative delta positions. And here's the ideal entry right at that 52.34 level, leading to a nice sharp drop lower. And as price starts to move lower, sell stops fuel the move lower. And again, sellers are exhausted. This is pretty typical of a positive gamma environment. Narrow trading range, mean reverting price action. All right, so there's the short setup. Call buyers take their foot off the gas. They start buying puts. Stop run up to the liquidity. Aggressive sellers, buyers are exhausted, and aggressive sellers come in. All right, so that's the setup in the S&P 500 that I wanted to cover. All right, let's go back to Hero. So trading the S&P 500 today definitely took patience. There were much better setups in stocks that I'll get to in just a couple minutes. All right, Anurag asks, hi Doug, hello. My Hero number for S&P 500 does not match yours. What is your rolling window set on, please? All right, so let's go back to the S&P 500. All right, I'm going to shift back to total. Jump back to avoid the auto zoom bug. All right, so first of all, Anurag, make sure you're watching the total combined signal for S&P 500, not SPX, not SPY. All right, second, asking about rolling window. I pretty much always use this 1 day look back period, 1 day rolling window period. I rarely ever change that now. I've talked about changing it in the past, but recently I almost always keep it at 1 day. All right, so there you go. All right, let's move on to Nasdaq. A little bit more range in Nasdaq today. All right, let's zoom in. Actually, let me explain what this is. All right, for Nasdaq, I use this combined signal. This is combining options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. These stocks make up a very large component of the Nasdaq 100, and this is the signal that I look at for trading the Nasdaq. All right, let's zoom in. I'm just showing the total signal here. All right, so let's take a look at the same short setup right around 1020. Here it's a little bit more clear. The Hero signal was making a series of lower highs as traders were taking negative delta positions. Earlier I did separate out puts and calls, and they were selling calls and buying puts. Both the blue line, orange line moving in the same direction. And at this time, so while Hero was falling, price did move up, made an equal high, and then began to reverse lower around 1020, the same as the S&P 500. All right, so let's go take a look at Nasdaq. So no one else is having this issue with volume dots. All right, let's zoom in. All right, here's the reversal. All right, Stephen, what version of Bookmap are you running? This is only occurring with 7.5 build 12. All right, so here's the short setup right around 1020 at 447. So remember, the Hero signal was already starting to trend lower. Nasdaq made an equal high. Aggressive buyers on the way up. Then aggressive sellers start to come in, shown by the magenta volume dots, and price drops lower. So in this case, the hero signal from Mag 7 was a great leading indicator for a short at 447. All right, so since then, big drop lower. You can see aggressive sellers all the way down. Nasdaq continues to make a series of lower highs. All right, let's go back to Hero. All right, Stephen, thanks for responding. Again, I'm on just updated to build 12 today. All right, let's go take a look at Hero again. Hero for Mag 7 continues to move lower. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. First, I want to take a look at Meta. Earlier today, Meta was bucking the trend. Let's zoom in. So there were a couple of good long setups for Meta today before it started to roll over. All right, so let's take a look at Meta. And I'm going to switch to puts and calls, so I'm going to have to jump and then jump back. Go back to Meta. Zoom in again. All right, so first of all, notice the flow alert that came in just 2 or 3 minutes after the cash open, indicating significant options activity. This is something that I've been looking at every day, especially in the first few minutes of the morning, first 15 minutes. A lot of these flow alerts come in and they get my attention for potential trades. So this is a big part of my process in the morning. So I saw this flow alert in Meta. Traders were buying calls. That's shown by the rising orange line. They were also selling puts. That's shown by the rising blue line. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction, and price moves higher. That's a very powerful directional indicator. One thing about trading Meta, it often pays to wait for very deep pullbacks. So you can see as the call buyers and put sellers took their foot off the gas, Meta pulled back. So let's go take a look at the Bookmap. Go to Meta. Let's zoom in. All right, fix the volume dot settings. All right, so there were a couple of nice long setups for Meta. First one, remember looking for deep pullbacks. Trend break. Traders resumed taking positive delta positions, primarily buying calls. Good for about 2.5 points, up to 509. Another deep pullback, while traders continue to take positive delta positions, and this time a move up to liquidity at 510. This is pretty typical for stocks. These bands of liquidity, these are limit sell orders, were limit sell orders, shown in the heat map with a dark shading. The darker the shading indicates there are more orders and limit orders in the order book. These limit orders often act as a magnet for price. So that 510 level was a magnet for price for the initial move higher, and then again for the second leg up to 510. Those orders at 510 were consumed both times. So that's where traders wanted to sell Meta. All right, so a couple of good long entries there in Meta. Let's go back to Hero. So here are the 3 pullback entries as traders continued to buy calls, primarily driving price. So right around 955, 1035, whoops, make that a little bit bigger, and then 1050. And then finally, call buyers took the foot off the gas, started selling calls, and they stopped selling puts, and price moves lower. All right, call buyers and sellers really driving price in Meta today. All right, the next stock I want to take a look at is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA call sellers were really driving price. Let's zoom in on this. So traders were buying puts and selling calls today, and call sellers much more aggressive. The flow alert that came in, that's right before 940, as traders were again selling calls and buying puts. NVIDIA moved lower. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to NVIDIA. Update the volume dots. All right, so NVIDIA made a series of lower highs. Pullback entries to VWAP. Good entry points for short. This one didn't quite make it, as traders were selling calls. And then finally finding support around the 940 level. Or let's go check Hero again. All right, so let me zoom all the way out. All right, so net for the day, traders have been buying puts. Most of that activity was really in the first hour, and then the put line has pretty much leveled off since then. They have continued to sell calls up until about 1 o'clock. So actually right around 12:20, they stopped for a moment, sold a few more calls. Now they're starting to buy calls, and NVIDIA is moving higher. All right, let me check for questions. All right, Tony K asking a question for Anurag. Anurag says, the onboarding video of Spotgamma says rolling window should be on 30 minutes to get the best signal to noise ratio. All right, so first of all, I don't know. I have not seen that onboarding video. I know that Brent, the founder of Spotgamma, has talked about that recently, and he has said that he always uses a 1-day rolling period. So that's what I use. I think there's too much noise in a 30-minute. I always use the 1-day rolling window period. I know Brent recently has talked about just zooming in to get more clarity instead of changing the rolling window period. All right, Redhead Shark wants to take a look at Tesla. All right, that's Tesla's the next one on the list. So we'll go to Tesla. Zoom in. Now the long setup. So mixed picture here in the large cap tech stocks. And this is how Tesla reacted to another downgrade today. Buy calls. So traders were aggressively buying calls from the open. Note the flow alert again. Initially, they were selling puts also. Orange line, blue line moving in the same direction. Then they took the foot off the gas pretty quickly, right around 9:45. Start call buying again for a few minutes. Take the foot off the gas, and Tesla responding every time. So notice now that net for the day, traders are buying puts. That's shown by the negative notional value. Initially, call buyers in the morning, foot off the gas, buy a few more calls, foot off the gas. So they're not that fuel driving price higher, the buying calls. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, they have to buy stock. That has stopped, and they continue to buy puts, and Tesla moving lower. All right, so let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to Tesla. Adjust the volume dots. All I need to do is right click on the volume dot for some reason after the initial adjustment. All right, so a lot of aggressive buyers in Tesla this morning. That's shown by all the green volume dots. A lot of green volume dots. Rising cumulative volume delta. Pullback entries if you miss that initial rush higher. Pullback entries to a trend line, and then finally Tesla breaks, making a series of lower highs, retracing the move higher from earlier today. All right, so there's Tesla, very nice long in the morning, and then a short as again traders continued to buy puts and the call buyers took their foot off the gas. Let's go back to Hero. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, let's go back to S&P 500. I'm going to switch back to the total signal. Jump back. All right, Anurag says, I wish Spotgamma had a better screen interface. Spotgamma continues to make improvements all the time. So this is, I started using Spotgamma about 4 years ago, and this is advanced orders of magnitude over what it was 4 years ago. So I think, and Spotgamma continues to make improvements to all aspects of the dashboard here, and I know they are working on a new charting package for Hero. So I don't know when that'll be out, but that is something they're working on. If you have any ideas, Anurag, for Spotgamma, they are very open to suggestions. You can send your suggestions to info@spotgamma.com. All right, so it looks like for the S&P 500, mean reverting options trades, taking advantage of the dip, taking positive delta positions. Let's just check. Let's compare all trades. That's what the purple signal is showing. That's showing all expirations. Let's now take a look at the 0 DTE options. So that's making up somewhere between a third and a half of the total options trades today. That's shown by the green or the teal line here. So again, that's less than half of the total options trade for today in 0 DTE options. All right, net for the day. Delta notional value mildly positive. Let's go back to Bookmap. Go back to ES. Adjust volume dots. All right, so ES backed up to the 52.29 level. This is interesting looking at, well, not many iceberg orders, but there was, this is pretty small, but iceberg buys there, 141 contracts executed in 4 executions. It looks like they're still on the order book. They moved the order down to 52.80. So this is showing 100 contracts still waiting to be executed at 52.80. Also the liquidity showing the orders in the order book. 290 contracts currently. Let's take a look at Nasdaq. Refresh volume dot settings. Cumulative volume delta continues to be negative. Also stop orders, sell stop orders, also negative. Here's another iceberg order that remained in the order book until it was finally filled right around 1 o'clock. Let's take a look at Heroes, see what options traders are doing. Let's go to the Mag 7. All right, looking at the hero signal, maybe breaking that downtrend, making a higher low. Traders buying the dip, taking positive delta positions in the Mag 7 stocks. Let's see what they're doing with NVIDIA. So NVIDIA often leads the way. Downtrend broken, traders taking positive delta positions. All right, I'm reading through the questions, comments on YouTube. All right, so NVIDIA Mag 7 may be taking advantage of the dip buyers coming in. Let's go to Bookmap. Nasdaq moved down to around the lows of the day. Somewhere between 530 and 535. Check on Tesla. All right, here's the opening print for Tesla. Right around 178.50. Tesla may be heading down that way, but finding support at 179. We'll see if it makes a higher low. Let's check and see what options traders are doing. All right, for Tesla, I would really want to see the hero signal start to make higher lows, start to move higher before looking for a long. All right, last call for stocks. Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Go back to Nasdaq. Refresh volume dot. All right, so Nasdaq trying to move higher. Trying to break that downtrend. All right, last call for stocks. Got about a minute left. All right, just to wrap up today, the S&P 500 was trading in a very narrow range, and that was really what I anticipated today based on the expected move for the day, primarily right around a little bit less than 21 points, plus or minus 21 points. That is very low, and that has been getting lower from day to day. So, for example, on the FOMC meeting last week, the expected move for SPX was plus or minus 38 points, and today plus or minus 21 points. So much better setups, I thought, in individual stocks. And I covered those: Meta, NVIDIA, and Tesla. So long in Meta, and then later on a short. And short in NVIDIA, and long in Tesla, and then later on a short. All right, everyone, my time is up. I want to thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your questions and comments. And I will see you tomorrow. All right, thanks again. Bye.